Hi everybody, I'm Matt Baxter. I've met some of you already, not met all of you though. I'm the Baxter bit of Baxter and Bailey.
Thanks for sticking around to the bitter end. I'm Dom Bailey and I am the Bailey half of this agency. Now, I've never been to Preston and you're probably sick of seeing this image, but there is a thing, because I love architecture. It was one of the first things I got interested in design. So just as man was landing on the moon, Neil Armstrong, Apollo 11 was descending, this landed at pretty much the same time in Preston. And I've always wanted to see it, and I've never seen it. I still haven't seen it, so I have to go. So I'm going to Burnley shortly. I have to go before I get on the train.
Could you not see it through the sleet?
No, exactly. Something that you'll take for granted, but I'm excited to see this building.
I, on the other hand, am very familiar with Preston. I used to come a lot because I was born and grew up in Burnley, just over the road. And in the early 80s, my dad used to drive me to this shop here on Frigate, Thunderbucks 2, not Thunderbucks 1, crucially, which was in Blackpool, to buy my comics. And I still buy them now, not from Thunderbucks 2. I believe there is a comic shop there still, but not, sadly, the dear departed Thunderbucks 2. Anyway, enough about you, lovely Preston. What about us? A little bit about us. We're Baxter and Bailey. We do brand, we do digital, and we help our clients make a positive impact in the world. There are 13 of us. There we all are, lined up, looking scrubbed and nice.
And we do all of our work from sunny Brighton, mostly sunny Brighton, on the south coast, overlooking the Channel to France. It's a lovely place to work, and we love it there, don't we?
We do, we love it. We do all kinds of work for all kinds of people in a wide variety of sectors. We work with big national charities, arts and culture, organisations, broadcasters, media brands, locations, all sorts of things, all kinds of brand and digital projects in all kinds of sectors, which made it quite difficult to think about what we were going to talk about today to you. Quite a tough choice, right, Dom?
Really tough. We thought long and hard about it. I wanted to show you projects like this. Our work for the London Soundtrack Festival, which is live orchestral performance to some of the world's greatest films like The Joker, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I wanted to share this kind of work with you. Or perhaps our work with the Royal Parks, an organisation looking after some of London's biggest parks, Hyde Park, Regent's Park, Greenwich Park. And this project was all about making those parks more accessible to people. So I wanted to share this kind of work. Or perhaps you've seen stamps already today. I work with the Royal Mail for some of the music giants of Britain, like Paul McCartney, Rolling Stones, the famous band Queen, of course, and Dame Shirley Bassey. So we've done quite a lot of work in this area. This is the kind of stuff that I thought people would be interested in.
We did think that. We did think we could talk about any of those projects, but then we thought, whoa there, hang on, Dom, just wait a minute, because here's an interesting thought. You had a week of this, brilliant people talking about brilliant work, and we could definitely have done that and stood shoulder to shoulder with everybody, but we thought, well, maybe we could conclude your week in a slightly different way, because what we know, and what you probably are getting an idea of, is that behind all of that brilliant work, all of that brilliant branding and slick digital work and beautiful motion, there are other more complicated journeys going on, different kinds of journeys, messier ones, twists and turns and mishaps and ups and downs and these things, mishaps, mistakes and downright disasters. And we thought, well, we've been doing this for about 30 years. We know that this stuff happens, that there's a messier truth behind the stories. Maybe we could do a talk for you that was about that stuff. And then we thought, okay, it's an idea there maybe, but why? Why is that interesting?
Well, I'll give you a couple of good reasons why, in my humble opinion. The first reason is that we live in a world where everything that we see online, on our phones, in the world of design, is beautiful, finished, perfect, pristine, and showcased to the world. But we all know that behind it is a slightly messier process that we see. The second reason is, I think, that in a room like this, with a lot of young designers about to move out into the world of work, their own careers, it's important for you to know that that even the most experienced designers with all of these wonderful projects and portfolios also make mistakes. So there's a couple of good reasons, Matt.
2 good reasons.
So it seemed only fair that we should start by a little bit of sharing of our own mistakes. So shall I go first?
You got one?
I think I've got lots, Matt.
All right, well, just one. Just give us one.
I'll give you one. So, about 15 years ago, believe it or not, I was working in Russia at the time. Now, that's hard to imagine given everything that's happened in the world today, but there I was. I was traveling on this very train. Lovely welcome there from the attendant. And it's a night train from Moscow to St. Petersburg. Why was I on this train? Well, the very next morning in St. Petersburg, I had a presentation to the board of a telecommunications company. Weeks of preparation went into it. And I was traveling in a cabin that looked just like this. Couldn't say it's exact cabin, but this is the cabin I was traveling in. You'll notice one thing, there's 2 sofas, stroke beds in there. So my traveling companion that day was an elderly Russian salesman called Konstantin. He didn't speak a word of English, and I didn't. My Russian wasn't much better. So we had awkward silence, had a vodka, settled down for the night, and tried to get some sleep. When I woke up at about 5:30 in the morning, Konstantin had swung his legs out of bed and was tucking into his breakfast at that table in nothing but his underpants. I opened my eyes, and you can imagine the view that I got. The cabin was slightly smelly, and I just freaked out. I was like, I've got to get off the train. So I scrambled around, got dressed, and got my stuff together, and ran for the exit of the train. But it was only when I got into the taxi to my St. Petersburg meeting that I realised I'd left on that train the beautifully presented boards that we'd spent weeks preparing, like in that cabin with Konstantin. They were no use to him, they were no use to me anymore, so I just had to wing it. So the perils of not enough sleep, but it can keep your nerve, hold you cool. What am I doing? Get in the zone.
Absolute disaster, Dom. Absolute disaster. And you've never left a presentation on a train since?
Never.
Nor have you publicly eaten your breakfast in your underpants?
Never done that either.
Okay, I've got one for you. It's another presentation-based mishap. Big first stage creative presentation, all ready to present. The design team, this is about 15 years ago, design team invited to the client's shiny offices. We duly trooped in, were shown into the boardroom, big screen, a little bit like this one, ready to present, and the client team came and sat a little bit like you are, just here. And they said, please begin. By the way, the big boss isn't here right at the moment. He'll join when he's ready. He'll just sit at the back. You start. So we began the presentation, really excited about the work we had to show. And sure enough, a couple of slides in, the big boss came in and sat at the back and gesticulated grandly that we should continue. So we did. And after maybe 5 more slides, he did 2 things. 3 things, actually. He stood up, he inverted his thumb like this, and he made this noise. And left the meeting room, making the rest of the presentation slightly awkward.
I would say very, very awkward. So there you go. There's a couple of mistakes from us. But in the interests of airing and sharing and sharing these mistakes, I think there might be a few people else in this room who've also made a few mistakes. So shall we have a little...
What about them? Yeah, who are we going to invite? Who is going to join us first?
How about this guy? He's been around a while. Anything to share with the group?
Surely, Andy. Surely you've got something. Surely you've got something.
Oh, yeah. We were working on a piece of print for the pitch document for Manchester game in the 2000 Commonwealth Games.
Right.
Because we were on about early 90s, for quite a long in advance. They didn't get it in the end, but they eventually got the Commonwealth Games. But we did tender document with the council, there was quite a big budget on it. And they had, it was all singing and dancing, some spot varnishes, and we used a photographer on it. And then it got to the point, I think, where just about where we were going to deliver them to the great and good. And then somebody spotted just spelling mistake on the map.
Classic, a classic.
We got the construction date wrong, basically. proposed construction date.
The most important date in the whole brochure.
It's the most important date of the whole thing. And oh no, what we're going to do? And we had to get the printer to make us some small stickers.
Here they are today.
Oh.
And there was the mistake, just there. And basically, we had to work out what colour we wanted them, and just to cover it up. And there was about 500. I can't remember. There's a lot of them. And we just had to sit there,
sticking them all on.
until around midnight.
Yeah.
Basically.
So tearing pages to look beautiful, or sticking sticky plasters on
To save the day.
error. Yeah.
It was a bit of a nightmare.
A right print disaster.
Print disaster.
Thank you, Andy. Can you potentially guess, eagle-eyed slide watchers, who might be next? Please step forward, Mr. Harker. And do you think you've got a tale you can tell us of a similar ilk?
Of a similar ilk, so graduate. So I went to Edinburgh College of Art, and when I was doing my degree show, there was agencies came around, and there's an agency came up to me and said, "We love your work. I think your work's amazing. Will you do our Christmas card?" And looking back, I mean, what were they thinking? Getting a student who just graduated doing the Christmas card? But I said, "Yeah, that must be great." So I was thinking, right, I'm going to nail this. This is going to be great. My work at the time was incredibly fine art, and it was very scribbly, and it was, God knows what they saw in it. But anyway, so we spent a couple of weeks putting this thing together and went to see them. And the woman, I don't think this agency exists anymore, but I don't think it existed after the Christmas card. But basically what happened was she looked at it, and then she looked at me, and she looked me in the eyes, and she said, "We really want our clients to think we're a creative agency, not a room full of people on acid." And I was kind of, right, that wasn't quite the reaction I was expecting, or wanting for that matter. And then she basically marched me into the studio and art directed me for the next week until we got this card, which was the most insipid, horrible card. And I don't think any of us liked it. Whether they ever used it, who knows?
Brilliant. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks, mate.
Absolute cracking story. So there you go. So two people that you know very, very well indeed, sharing their stories. But what about the really talented, experienced designers that you speak this morning? What about them?
Come on, surely.
This guy.
Surely, Steve.
Come on, Steve. Share with the group. It's cathartic.
Do I really have to do this?
In what music and movement you could do?
Okay. So there's this thing, and it's really embarrassing, and my mum doesn't know about this.
You might need to edit this out of the film.
Well, she hasn't got a phone, so it's fine. So it was Design Week Awards, mid-2000s, and I was working at the Chase in London, and there was a few of us there. We were meeting our client. It was land security. We were meeting land there, and there was a few things going on. And, oh my God, I got so drunk, and I was sort of mind-sweeping bottles of champagne on all the tables. I just felt
Making the most of it.
Felt happy. Didn't win, but felt happy. And I was absolutely just in such a state, and I was not coherent. I couldn't even stand up, so I was bundled in a taxi by my colleague Ollie Maltby at the time, and I'd recently moved house to London Fields in Hackney, but Ollie didn't know the address, and I wasn't coherent enough to actually say it. And he just said, "Oh, somewhere Hackney Way," sort of hoping that I'd revive and sort of be able to instruct where to go. Then I woke up in a ditch on the side of a dual carriageway, and I had absolutely no idea where I was. The suit that I was wearing, my only suit that I was wearing, was ripped all at the knees, everywhere. I had blood all down my face, all down my suit, everything. I had no idea what was going on, and I just couldn't do anything. I walked for miles, and then I walked for miles and miles and miles, and I didn't know where I was. And it was somewhere around Tottenham. And then I took a series of buses. I must have taken like 3 or 4 different buses, and all I wanted to ask people was, where am I? But it was such a 28 days late sort of like moment where everyone was looking at me like, and no one would speak. They'd actually walk away, and I put my key in the door at home at 6 a.m. in the morning. It had taken me what was probably about 4 hours to get home, and I just crashed out. Jane, my other half, she was in New York at the time, so no one even knew.
Until today.
Anyway, I awoke, my phone had been ringing a zillion times. I went into work, and everyone just gave me that look. And I broke my nose. I went to A&E, broke my nose, and I was all bust up. Yeah.
So it's changed your approach to Design Week Awards ever since. Thanks, Steve.
I'd like to say that I don't drink anymore, but
So there you go. There's a lesson in staying professional when you move into the industry. Yeah. And fun.
Come on, Alex, please. Surely.
Mine is nothing.
Yeah. Quite succinct, I think, yours. Right?
Oh, yes, it is succinct. And I would say it's more of a technical mishap than necessarily my mistake.
Yeah.
I think. You just mentioned land securities again. So land securities still are. They still are.
yeah.
Very big property developer, and many moons ago it was run by a guy called Mike Cassidy. So he's a really big cheese. About 10 years ago, 2 very good friends had a baby. Of course, really excited about going to meet the baby. Put the calendar invite in, meeting baby 5, send in my personal calendar. I don't know if it was immediate, but at some point I realised I'd invited Mike Hussey, the CEO, to meet baby 5. Somehow in every meeting room. Emailed his PA, really sorry, I've had a calendar fail. It's a thing.
Yeah.
You invite people to things accidentally and it can be quite bad. I think probably worse.
Yeah.
I was mortified to say, yes, Mike isn't actually invited to me.
Thank you, Alex.
There you go.
Thanks for our guest speakers. Round of applause for all 4 of our guest speakers. So, clearly, if we've got stories of our own, if the people that we ask in the room have got some stories of their mistakes and their mishaps, maybe we've got a concept here for our talk for you today. And like all good designers, if you've got a concept, the first thing we want to do is give it a name and a brand. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are, our concept to the Design Laundry. This still wet. This it's a place, an imaginary place where problems, mishaps, mistakes can be aired and shared, inspected, held up to the light. Creative mistakes, particularly creative industry mistakes. So that's what we're going to do. So that's what we decided to do. Build some stories. So we got a concept, a name, a brand. What do we name that next on?
One thing missing, content. You've just heard a little bit of content from us, but we wanted to get content from the whole of the industry. So we went out and we asked the industry 2 questions. The first question, quite straightforward. Have you ever experienced a professional mistake, mishap, or downright disaster? And if you have, would you be happy to share it with the Design Laundry? So there were the questions. It went out to our database.
We put the questions out to everybody that we know, and the results, as you can see here, slightly disappointing.
They were more than disappointing. We got absolutely nothing. Silence, silencio, nothing.
Stille.
Stille.
But we held our nerve, and gradually, fairly slowly at first, but one by one, the email inbox started to fill up. And within a couple of weeks, we'd got literally hundreds of brilliant, horrible, hair-raising, if you have any hair, stories of mishaps and disasters.
So we were delighted to have all of these from the great and the good from across the industry. You'll recognise some of these names. In fact, Jack was here, of course, on Monday. And we were really encouraged by this. It felt like people were feeling cathartic, like a sense of relief that they could finally air and share it, just like Steve and Alex have done for us today. Now, we couldn't possibly share 600 stories with you, so we've selected six of the
stories.
best.
We've got time for 6, I think. Who's first? So our first speaker in the design laundry is this gentleman, Ryan Hughes.
Anybody know who Ryan Hughes is? Heard of him? Yeah? No? Okay.
Tell us who Ryan Hughes is, Dom.
Ryan Hughes is an amazing British graphic designer.
He's
more than that, he's an illustrator as well.
Yeah.
And a comic book artist.
He's a comic book artist.
A typographer.
Oh, lovely glyphs.
Yeah. Essentially, a bit of an all-round superstar, a bit of a legend, and I think they call people like this polymaths.
Yeah, I prefer multi-hyphenate.
Ooh, get you, multi-hyphenate. Yeah. Right, well, we've all learned a new word today.
Write it down,
so there you go. So anyway, Ryan's got a pretty messy story, but a smelly story to tell. Shall we?
Let's hear it.
Shall we hear it?
Hello, Ryan. Can you hear us?
Hi, Matt. Hi, Dom. Hi, everybody. I'm here to tell you about my very first interview on leaving art college, which was a small ad branding company in Camden Passage. And this is before the days of Google Maps, so very complicated about the A to Z. I arrived at Camden Station, and I have my portfolio on a trolley. And this trolley, if you imagine an old person's shopping bag with a bag taken, so it's a frame with the wheels on, and I attach my portfolio to this with a couple of bungee cords. So I'm wheeling this thing around Camden, get completely lost, and then it starts to rain. So by the time I actually arrive at the place, I'm 45 minutes late and completely soaked through. So anyway, I get shown up to the boardroom, which is a huge expanse of mahogany table with 3 or 4 directors in suits on the other side of it. And I go to lift I unhook this bungee cord and lift my portfolio up onto the table. I take my arm, and all up my sleeve is something brown. So I have a sniff, and it's dog shit. And what I've managed to do is wheel this contraption through some wet dog shit, which is spattered up and completely covered one side of my portfolio. Anyway, I excuse myself. With profound apologies, we go downstairs, and the secretary, of course, thinks this is hilarious. But anyway, I clean myself up, and I go back upstairs to face the music. And one of the directors is down on the surface of the table, cleaning it with a rag, checking that there's no shit all over the table. And one of the other directors has had to open all the windows to let the stench out. Anyway, despite this inauspicious beginning, got the job. I'm not recommending this as an interview technique. It turned out the job was shit. I lasted 3 months, and then I was out of there.
Thank you very much indeed, Ryan. So, messy story, our first entry in the design, first official entry into the design laundry, and has all the ingredients of a great story. An innocent young protagonist, a high-stakes scenario, and dog poo. I'm going to hang Ryan's story on the line. We've called it Double Dirty. That's the category for this story. And Dom, you tell us who's next.
Yeah, so we've given them all titles. So let's introduce our second person into the laundry. It's this guy, Jamie Ellel of Shuffle Studio. So some of you might have heard of Jamie, really well-known designer, runs Shuffle Studio down in Bath, a small team. He has shelves groaning with design awards. So he's really envied for the amount of awards he's won for his and his team's work. He also is known for the industry's largest and bushiest.
They're absolute beauties.
Lamb chops, I believe he calls them. Anyway, Jamie's got a pretty embarrassing story to share with you. So, shall we hear Jamie's story? Hello, Jamie. Welcome to the laundry.
Hello, Matt. Hello, Dom. Hello, whole design community. You can judge me after watching this video. Great. I'm walking up the big hill to avoid anyone hearing me talk about this fuck up of mine, which is kind of ridiculous when I think about it, because I am sending you this video that you're going to put on a massive fucking great big screen. But hey ho. Yeah, so my screw up was about 12 years ago. I'd just set up Supple, having left my agency and I needed work. A mate of mine said, "Oh, my dad runs an accounting firm, he needs a brochure." It wasn't a super exciting job, but I needed to work, and they already had a website and a logo and stuff, and they just wanted to kind of replicate the design of the website and the brochure. Easy enough, did it. For the usual stuff, make design. I think the design was a bit worse than I did at the beginning. I had everything printed, sent it back off to the printer, and then I was running over a train when the printer sent back across. I know, it was a Thursday, I was running for the train to go to Hodge. I remember it quite clearly, and that's where it is. And then I was just forward. Forward into line, didn't hear anything until we went up. Thinking these guys, so chasing them, still didn't hear. And then eventually, it was Sunday night, I got an email from the client that just said, "Hi Jamie, we're wondering how to respond to your email. Have you seen your note to the printer?" My heart obviously sank. I read the email chain, saw that my first message to you. The printer was, "Please don't judge me, because this is a shit thing I did, I did it. Hard enough, absolutely horrible, and one of my time, often the artwork free, charging £12 as a design snob, and not to take my notice seriously. But hey, I've not said anything like that again, so yeah. And talk to him, that's why.
There you go. Thank you, Jamie. So we can that one the title.
Email fail. We got a lot of email fails in the laundry, a lot of them, but that was the perfect email fail. You've ever had an email fail, Dom?
Yeah, I actually signed off an email to the marketing director of Vodafone. My name's Dom. I signed it off on Best Doom.
Doom Bailey.
Doom Bailey.
Who's next?
Great. Okay, let's invite Frances Jackson into the laundry. Now, Frances, you have to look this one up in the library, started her career at a really brilliant design agency called Meta Design. So I recommend that you look at some of their work. She then went on to form OPX, a brand identity agency, sort of similar to ours in some ways in size. And Frances has recently left the design industry to pursue a career in psychotherapy. And we hope it's not as a result of this really traumatic story. Now, Frances wasn't prepared to share her story by video, but she did write us a letter, which Matt is going to
I have the letter here, and I'm going to read this on Frances's behalf with her blessing. And here's what she says. Frances says, "We worked for a number of years for the King's Trust, a famous and nationally significant charity whose figurehead is King Charles, the King of England. One particular project involved designing a book about the ways in which the King's Trust was supporting the development of art in the built environment. The title of the book was Art in the Public Realm. The book was carefully and beautifully designed, printed, delivered and distributed in its thousands. Copies of the book were available all over the country. Sometime after this, His Royal Highness King Charles himself visited the King's Trust headquarters to see the work that they were doing. On being handed the book that we'd beautifully designed, he returned it immediately because he'd spotted something that nobody else had. The title on the cover of the book actually read, Art in the Pubic Realm.
Absolutely hard to believe that, but it is actually true. So we called this story Rude Royal. Now everybody's made a typo, I'm sure. People have made typos here. Has anybody got one that they're prepared to share? No pressure. I'm sure you've all made them. One of the most common in the laundry. Let's invite our next guest then.
Who's next?
It's this lovely fella, Daljit Singh. Now, Daljit, his career goes back to the 90s too. And he, believe it or not, founded one of the UK's first proper digital agencies. So a real groundbreaking, trailblazing kind of person. And he continues to do that now in the world of AI. Like it or loathe it, he's at the forefront of using new technology in design. Now, Daljit's got an absolute shocker of a story. So, shall we hear it?
Let's hear it. Hello, Daljit.
Hello, Matt. Hello, Dom. First of all, I've got sunglasses on because I'm on holiday and not appearing to look cool. Just to explain, my 4-year-old son punched me in the face. And I've got a massive black eye behind one of these. So, forgive me. Anyway, this is a story which I've been asked to retell, and quite frankly, it brings back pretty awful memories and makes me want to cringe. In 2007, my agency, Digit, we had our office in London, and we were lucky enough also to have an office in New York. We had a couple of clients there, so I was spending a lot of time from one place to another, which sounds very extravagant, but also very tiring. Anyway, after a very long trip there, I'd just landed back in London. I was in a taxi going home and got an email from our colleague in New York who said, Daljit, Gene Simmons has been in touch. Yeah, Gene Simmons from Kiss. Being a massive Kiss fan, there was a lot of disbelief to begin with, but it had to be real. I mean, why wouldn't it be? And he wanted to meet me. So meet the agency. And rather than get all the way home, my bag was packed, asked the taxi to turn around, and managed to get on the next flight back to New York. Lots of air miles, so I managed to do it very cheaply. So you're on a flight, 7 hours. I kind of was thinking, this is going to be some kind of joke, but now it's too late. My friend, Simon Waterfall, I'd played an elaborate hoax on him not so long ago. And I thought, he's got me. I'm on the flight, I can't get off, it's not a bus. So there I was, landed in JFK, got out of the airport, got in the cab, straight to the hotel where Gene Simmons had apparently asked to meet me in the taxi. Doubt was really setting in. Arrived at the hotel and I'd been told to ask for Simon Smith rather than Gene Simmons, because obviously being rock royalty, you don't really travel by stay at hotels by your real name. And at this point I thought, it's Simon. I thought I may as well go up there and let the bastard have his moment up in the lift. So I knocked on the door and I uttered the great words of, Simon, come out, you massive tosser. Door opened and Gene Simmons. And to my utter shock and amazement, he ushered me in and he said, you English guys have got such strange senses of humour, haven't you? And I just said, yeah. The meeting probably lasted about 3 to 4 minutes. Let's just say we didn't get that piece of work.
Brilliant.
There you go, a proper rock shock.
Interesting story that, unlike the others, which were kind of technical fails, typos, that kind of thing, Daljit's story is more of an emotional one. It's a failure of nerve rather than a failure of something technical, but a mistake nevertheless, going in the laundry. Who's next?
Well, next into the laundry is Hazel McMillan from, she started her career at Pentagram. Now, I know most of you must have heard of Pentagram, one of the world's most famous agencies in many countries. She then went on again to form her own company, bit of a pattern emerging there, isn't there? Now, Hazel's got an amazing story to tell you about getting out of a creative pickle. Shall we hear her story?
Let's hear it.
Hi Matt, hi Dom, and a big hello to your lovely audience. So my story is about when I was a student at Glasgow School of Art and I managed to land myself a placement at Blue Peach Design, and they were a really cool outfit at the time, so I felt really lucky to be there. They were working on an exhibition about 150 years of healthcare provision by the NHS in Glasgow, and this was part of the European City of Culture celebrations. My boss Joe asked if I'd take responsibility for one of the rooms, which was a room for kids, and we were to help kids understand the value of good health. And in this room there were loads of these arcade games, the ones you see at the fun fair type thing. And what I did was, I said I was going to transform these arcade games into orange trees. I covered them in orange tennis balls, and I painted a mural of the sunny sort of positive scene, and a nice room for kids to run around and play. The night before the exhibition was about to open, I had sort of done everything I could possibly do. I was absolutely exhausted. I was sort of practically asleep, standing on my feet, and I decided just to kind of have a quick check around and make sure there's nothing left to do. And I thought, no, I'm done. I can just tidy up, put the ladder away, and turn the lights off. When I got the ladder, I felt this weird sort of sensation in the back of my head, and I looked down and I saw a Stanley knife sticking into the carpet, and I thought, whoa, that was a bit close, that could be really dangerous. And then I saw an explosion happen in slow motion of a 5-litre tin of orange paint, which was also at the top of the ladder, and which exploded like a paint bomb right in the middle of the grey carpet. My boss, hearing me scream, ran into the room, grabbed a brush and just said, Hazel, we need to make this look deliberate. Get creative. So the two of us just went on this mad frenzy and we started throwing the paint about like we were in Jackson Pollock's art studio. The next day, when all the dignitaries and important people turned up, I was absolutely mortified. And but they seemed to think it was okay. In fact, they all sort of just saw it as this fantastic creative space for kids, and they didn't think twice about it.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Hazel. And a story Dom's already mentioned, brilliant one in that, a disaster, total disaster, an exploding paint bomb of disaster, but saved by quick creative thinking, something we'll come back to, I think, Dom.
Yeah, I think so.
Have we got time for one more?
One more. This is the last one. So let's welcome Lucy Batley to this to the laundry. Now, Lucy's from the northeast of England. That's where I also hail from. She runs a great digital business called Traction. She's also a really strong campaigner and advocate for reducing the gender pay gap and equality and diversity in design as well. So really, really fantastic woman, which makes it even more upsetting to hear her story, which is a bit upsetting.
It's a dark one, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, let's hear it.
Hello, Lucy.
Hi Matt, hi Dom, great to see you both, and thank you so much for asking me to participate in this project, which I think is absolutely brilliant, by the way, so I'm really, really honoured to be here sharing my story. My story is about how I lost a pitch because I was wearing skull earrings. So I've actually worn them today, not sure if you can see the pesky little buggers, but they are the very same earrings that lost me a pitch. We were pitching for a big job that I really wanted to win. There was a panel chaired by a woman, but it was predominantly men on the panel. And we didn't get it, which I was very good about, but I became friends with the woman who was chairing it. And at a later date, she told me that the reason that we didn't win the pitch wasn't because of the quality of our presentation or our work. It was that the guy sitting next to me didn't like my skull earrings, and because I was wearing black, which I am famous for, he thought I was a little bit gothy and a little bit macabre. So go figure.
Go figure indeed.
Oh dear.
So a disturbing story, as we said, because the mistake there clearly was not Lucy's mistake. It was the mistake of the judgy, sexist potential client who made a decision about her based on how she looks. Something also we can come back to. But I think that's us, in terms of our stories, done, right, Dom? What happens?
Brilliant. We've had 6, we've had more than 6, haven't we? We've had about 10, including the ones that you've heard here today. So I think there's only one thing to do, Matt. Let's get him in the laundry. Let's get him on a hot wash. Let's remove the stains. Let's remove the shame. Let's restore order. That's what we need to do.
Whoa. Not so quick, Dom. No. Because, hang on a minute, this isn't any old laundry, this thing. It's the design laundry. So, we're not here to wash away the stains and the blemishes and the sacks. We're here to hang them up, to wear them, share them, and maybe figure something else about ourselves from the experience. How does that sound?
That sounds like a lovely idea.
All right, let's do it.
So here they all are. They're all hanging up. I think what we need to do is let's go back through one by one.
Yeah. Very quickly.
Figure out what very quickly. And figure out what we've learned. All right, should we start with Double Dirty?
First up, so we had Hughes, if you remember, first interview, dragged his portfolio, threw a load of dog poo, absolute disaster, terrible situation. What did Ryan get out of that?
Well, I think the thing about that story is what a day Ryan had. One disaster after the other. But he just kept going. He just got on with it. And he got the job. And none of this stuff was anything to do with him, really. It was all circumstantial, wasn't it?
It was circumstantial, not his fault. In other words, he gave himself a break, ultimately. He was kind to himself.
Gave himself a break, he was kind to himself, kept going, got the job. Job obviously didn't work out, but, you know, he went on from there. Let's have a think about Jamie, if you can remember Jamie's story. So, walking up the hill, sent the email error.
He described his own work as shit to the client. The worst job he'd ever done. And he's still clearly embarrassed about it 12 years later. He had to walk up a hill to tell the story. What outcome, what potential good outcome came from that?
It stayed with him, but I think what he's learned is that you've got to treat everybody the same. Small clients, medium clients, large clients, just treat everybody with the same level of respect. Second thing I think he learned, and this is a classic one, just always check. Just always have that last little look before you hit send, however much of a rush you might be in.
It's all important. In other words, everything counts. Then we had Francis Jackson's story, right? Spotted a massive typo, a rude typo spotted by the actual king of actual England. What did Francis get out of that situation?
Yeah, well, we've absolutely made typos. I can't think there couldn't be anybody in this room that hasn't made a typo, I'm sure. But this was like a pretty big one. And obviously spotted by the King of England. Now, what did Francis learn from this? Well, I think that the main thing she learned that was at the time it just felt insurmountable, completely. She wanted just the world to swallow her up. But as the days went on, as the weeks went on, it just got that little bit easier. So the lesson here, I think, is even the biggest mistakes, a little bit of distance between you and the error, it starts to fade away and things do get better.
Time is a healer, even epic errors fade. A good insight, that, Dom.
Okay, let's move on.
Then we had Daljit on his holidays, black eye, went to a meeting in New York, thought it was a big joke, but he wasn't. Very embarrassing situation, didn't get the job. What
well, I think with Daljit, you've got to go back to that return flight in New York. So he's halfway over the Atlantic. And then he had the thought, didn't he? Oh no, it's Simon. And he just let that narrative just develop and continue in his mind all the way to opening that door in the hotel. So the lesson here, I think, that you learn is just because you think it doesn't make it real. Thoughts aren't facts. So don't allow that narrative to just develop in your head about something that, you know, you might not feel quite right about. Let it play out.
In other words, don't stop believing.
Now, Matt said he wasn't sure whether he was going to do that, but he's definitely got it wrong because that is not a song by
I feel it was a mistake.
Kiss. As we know, that is a song by the American rockers Boston. Let's go back to this one.
Hazel, explosion of orange paint, saved, clutch from disaster by quick thinking.
Yeah.
Good outcome.
I
Isn't it?
absolutely love this story because it's a bit fight or flight, isn't it? I mean, the paint just fell on the floor. It's like, what on earth are we going to do about it? But with a little bit of help from her creative director, they made the best of a bad situation. So there's this saying, isn't there? If life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And I think that's exactly what they did. They just thought on the feet, got themselves out of a really, really difficult situation by just using a bit of creativity.
Yeah. In other words, creativity wins. And then finally, we had a little message from Lucy Batley in the Northeast. The sorry tale of her beautiful skull earrings that caused a judgy client to be judgy. What came out of that situation?
Well, you know, you've got pegs on your ears, Matt. And, you know, people are going to judge you everywhere. Everybody's got a little bit of prejudice, a little bit of judgment in you. And when you're faced with unfair prejudice and judgment, you just got to be yourself. The haters are going to hate. Stick with it, believe in yourself, and just let it pass. So I think that the big learning here is whatever happens, whoever you are, in whatever situation you are,
stay true. Stay true. That's it. 6 stories, 6 learnings. Are we allowed to say learnings? Said it now. Is that us done?
I think we're almost done, Matt, but I think this is really good. It's very cathartic. Hopefully people can relate to this, but I've been wondering.
Yeah.
Have we got any evidence for this stuff? Anything that backs it up, or is it just us sort of?
I'm so glad you asked, Dom, because you know us designers, we a creative notion is a fine thing, but we like a little bit of evidential ballast to back up our whimsical notions, and that's exactly what I've done. A little bit of reading, a little bit of research to try and give our ideas a little bit of heft. And I find this piece in the Harvard Business Review by Professor Inigo Gallo, and this is what he says. Mistakes are inevitable. They're going to happen. So when they do, the best leaders or designers or insert name here neither romanticize mistakes nor do they scorn them. He concludes growth can't happen without going through the pain of exposing and acknowledging your weak spots and shortcomings. Good academic rigor there, I think.
There you go. There's the academic rigor you were looking for. But you know me, Matt. I'm a bit more of a spiritual guy myself. So if you're looking for a more spiritual, emotional take on these kind of issues, then we've got to go back to the yogis. We've got to go back to the ancients and the practice of svajaya. And that teaches that a little bit of self-compassion will really ease the situation, but it can also, here's the thing, enhance really good decision making. So there you go. Namaste.
Namaste, my friend. So there we have it. Well, thank you for visiting the Design Laundry. All that remains to say is that the Design Laundry is open. Visit the laundry. Tell us your stories, your mistakes and your mishaps, because as I hope we've illustrated, you'll feel better for it and you'll probably help somebody else feel better as well.
That's it. It's an active project. It's live. Get involved. Share your stories with us. So I think there's only one thing to do, and that is to play you a short video about this whole project. We spent absolutely weeks, if not months, putting this together. So I'm really looking forward to sharing it.
Shall I hit play?
Hit play, man.
I hope it doesn't go wrong.
We'll just like head for the doors. What are you going to do? There you go. Thank you very much. That's the end of our class.